Hi, thanks for signing up to my climbers program. There's no real facility to send out instructions, etc., on the app, so I'm going to do this quick video just to sort of talk you through the best way to use the program, how to get the most out of it, and a couple of little bits around how it works, just so you've got an idea going into it of what you should be doing. So, it is specifically for climbers, so the first thing I would say is just as a heads up, there's no kind of pulling in the program. There's a lot of gymnastic movements, there's some front lever work and various other bits and pieces, lots of loaded mobility. However, there's no sort of pull-up work, so that's deliberate because obviously if you're climbers, I'd expect you to be kind of training your climbing a couple of days a week at least, and I don't want to pile loads of more sort of pulling on top of that. And then potentially looking at getting overuse injuries by adding in loads of extra sort of pull-ups and stuff on top of your climbing. So if you aren't climbing regularly, then I would suggest adding in some pull-up work into the program. But other than that, everything's there for you, and I'm going to talk you through how it's kind of set up so you can get the most out of it. So the program itself is split into 4 3-week blocks. Okay, there's 2 sessions a week of strength training. There is a third session each week, which is mobility work. So that is kind of some of it's passive, but most of it is unweighted stretching. So getting into a position for a prescribed amount of time and working your way through that. So the Saturday session on the system is stretching, and it's all the kind of stuff that's going to benefit your climbing. Keep your shoulders nice and loose, etc. So the Saturday session is a stretching session. The other 2 sessions I've programmed on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can do them whenever you want. I would recommend doing the sessions on the day after you've climbed potentially, or if you're going to do them before you climb, maybe having sort of 24 hours at least between doing a training session and a climbing session to get the most out of your climbing. So you can either do them the day after you've climbed or do them sort of 48 hours before you climb would be a good option. But again, you can do them any day you want. Ideally sort of sticking to the week, so doing the 2 sessions in the week that's prescribed. So the way the sessions work is that like I say, there's 4 3-week blocks. The progressive side of it, so the way we progress things, the program stays the same for 3 weeks at a time. So the movements are the same for 3 weeks, and the reps potentially the same for the 3 weeks. The thing that changes is the number of sets you're going to be doing. So on week 1, you'll be doing 3 sets of everything. Okay. On week 1 of each block, I would recommend testing that session, so seeing what weights are kind of going to work for you, which movements you're going to be doing, how many reps you're going to be doing for some of the gymnastic stuff. Obviously log that on the app. Week 2 and 3 of that block, you want to be doing the same number of reps, the same weight, the same movements as you did on week 1, but we're going to add in a set. So the progression comes from adding a set. You don't need to add more weight because we're adding volume, we're adding more work. So for 3 weeks at a time, on week 1, you're going to set out your reps, your weights, your movements, and put them in the app. And then week 2 and 3, we're going to add an extra set in of extra work. So that's where you get your progression. Then on week 4, the whole thing changes and it'll look completely different. There are some running themes. So the gymnastic work, so there's front levers, there's hanging leg raise, there's L-sit work, and other bits of core work for gymnastics. For gymnastic push-ups is another one. They stay the same, as in each video will have a number of options for that movement, and you need to, again, on week 1, day 1, you need to test them and see where you're at and which ones you can do competently, and I'll come on to that in a bit. So the gymnastic stuff's going to run throughout, but all the loaded mobility and the kind of accessory work that's going to bulletproof you and give you sort of robust joints and open your mobility up, that's going to be changing every 3 weeks, so you get a good variety of different movements. So I'm just keeping an eye on my notes so I know what I've covered. So the goal of this 12-week program, by the end of it, you should be stronger. You should be more mobile. You should be more robust, so you should feel like your joints are kind of stronger and you feel less sort of niggly and things like that. You should feel a lot more robust from all the movements we're doing. And again, the final goal is by the end of the 12 weeks, you'll have been exposed to tons of new movements that you've never done before, especially accessory work. There'll be a lot of stuff in there for your hips and shoulders and various other, for your spinal mobility that you'll never done before. So by the end of the 12 weeks, you'll have this kind of, this library of exercises that you can sort of keep on working on. So some of them you might find really resonate with you and you really like them, and that exercise you can obviously keep doing indefinitely. So I want to give you as much stuff as possible over 12 weeks to try without making it too chaotic or random. It's obviously progressive and you're going to stick with things for 3 weeks so you get used to them, but the idea is it's going to change up fairly regularly so you get a good exposure of lots of movements. The way I program, generally everything's superset, so there'll be movements that are going to be paired together, or three movements together, and the idea with that is you do the first movement into the second movement into the third movement, and then you go back to the first movement. So if you're doing 3 sets of 3 exercises, you do each exercise one after the other, and then you go back to the start and do it again until you've done 3 sets. If you're going to take rests, take them between your sets as opposed to in between each individual exercise. So everything pretty much is superset. I also put on your programming rate of perceived exertion, RPE. That's basically how hard I want you to work. And I only use 2 on this program particularly. I've just used 2. So there's RPE 8, and that is going to be where I want you to go. I want you to be doing, it should be really challenging, but you shouldn't be missing any reps. So if it's 3 sets of 10, you should be able to do all of those sets of 10, those 30 reps, without missing one. Ideally, if you miss it, if on the last set you can't quite finish the set, that's fine. But it's not a max effort every go kind of thing. So an RPE 9 or 10 for me would be you keep going till you basically keep going till you can't do any more. We're not going to that point. We're not going to failure. So RPE 8 is not to failure. So RPE 8 is going to be a really challenging weight for the number of reps and sets that you're doing, but you're not going to failure. So that's RPE 8. RPE 7, which is the other one I use, and again, this is subjective, but it's just to give you an idea. RPE 7 is you would have some reps in reserve. So the idea with this one is all your loaded mobility work, you're going to be doing at a sort of 7 out of 10. So the idea is you could do more reps. Not loads, but you could do some more reps. The idea with 7 is we're trying to focus on range and quality of movement over trying to go to use as much weight as possible. So for the loaded mobility stuff, it's going to be RPE 7, and I want you to have a weight that allows you to get into the deepest range possible safely, where you've still got control. So if we loaded it up a bit more, you might not get in as deep because the weight's a bit too heavy for that range, and your body might not like it. We want the weight to be such that you can get into a nice deep ranges on an RPE 7. So those are the 2 sort of effort levels, and each exercise will be an 8 or a 7. If it's an 8, it's a strength exercise, and I want you to go close to failure but not quite. If it's a 7, I want you to sort of focus on range and not be going anywhere near failure. Okay. The gymnastics work is the next thing to touch on. There's families of movements. So front lever progressions. We've got everything from sort of the most basic up to a front lever. There's lots of progressions on that sort of on that journey to get there. On day 1, you're going to sort of test them out and see which one you're on. The way the app works, I can only put 1 video on, so I've put on like a little sort of demo video showing you all the various progressions. It's up to you then to sort of work out which ones you're going to be doing and where you're at with them. Some of them you'd be looking to do more reps than others, so I'm in the reps. It's fairly sort of fluid with the gymnastics stuff. the idea is, if I generally use the term up to, say, 30 reps or up to 10 reps. If it says up to so many reps, you need to find a progression that you can do for between 5 and 10 reps. If you could do more than 10, then you've kind of mastered that one, and you want to try and move up to the next difficult progression, so that go up a level of difficulty. If we can't quite do 5 reps, then it's probably a bit too hard, and we need to dial it back a bit until we can nail 10 reps every time with that other, with a slightly easier movement. So each the L-sits, the hanging leg raise, and the front lever progressions, within the demo video, there are a number of different options, and you need to pick the one that works for you. And obviously on week 1, that might be sort of, progression number 2. And as you work through the weeks, by week 12, you might be on progression 3. So it's just a case of building up, hitting the target reps, moving up to the next difficulty, building back up to the target reps, and just slowly building your way up through that. So that's how the gymnastic works. Up to so many reps, well, between 5 and 10 reps is good. And you want to, again, try and be consistent for the 3-week block, doing the same number of reps as the sets increase. The other session that I've put on the program is a wrist series, and I've just banged it on a Wednesday separate, just so you can look at it and use it however you want. I would recommend doing that wrist series pretty much as part of my warm-up for climbing. So climbers tend to neglect, stretching the forearms properly. The tissues in the hand get tight when we end up sort of claw-handed if we're doing a lot of climbing and a lot of crimping. So the wrist series is a really nice way of getting the wrists moving, opening all the tissues up into the elbow and through the forearm, and getting some length back into the tissues of the hand, so we're kind of we're not getting tight and getting overuse injuries and tendonitis and stuff into the elbows. So the wrist series, you could do it 2 or 3 times a week without any issues. It's not loaded, it's not weight training, it's just literally some sort of dynamic sort of movement stretches that you're going to go through for your wrists and elbows. So I would do that probably as a warm-up for climbing, or at least sort of 2 or 3 days a week, just to keep on top of your forearms and your wrists, etc. I'm just looking at my list of things. So yeah, I think that's everything covered. So you might want to watch that again, everything I've just said, with a pen and paper, and just make some notes if you're not sure. The last thing to say is, if you find any of the movements too easy, and you just kind of like, well, I can already do all this, then email me and I will give you some alternatives. I would say on that, before you do email me, make sure you are doing everything properly and sort of to the right tempo and stuff like that, so you're not kind of like cheating on reps and stuff. But if you can genuinely do it all, and it's too easy, then message me and I will give you something harder. Equally, if it's too hard for you and you just don't know where to start, then email me and I can give you some alternative ideas around that as well. So, you bought this program, it is a sort of standalone 12-week thing. However, I'm more than happy for you to contact me and ask any questions that you've got. The best way to contact me, as I've already said, is email. The app is kind of hit or miss. If I'm not looking at the app, for a few days or a week, I'm going to miss it. So the best way to contact me is via email. And equally, if you just listen to all that 2 or 3 times and you're like, I still don't know where to start, then email me and I can talk you through it. I'm more than happy as well if you're trying these gymnastic movements and you're not quite sure if you're doing them right. If you want to film yourself doing them, like a form video, send it through to me and I will tell you, yeah, that's spot on, or you just need to open your hips a bit more on this bit, etc. So if you want any kind of pointers on any of the movements, or you want to film some form videos and send them through, that's fine as well. So I am here if you need me. The best contact email for me is coach.matt.robinson@gmail.com. So that's coach.matt.robinson@gmail.com. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get a lot out of it. Last bit of advice is have a good look at the sessions the night before you do it the first time, and watch the videos and make sure you know what you're doing when you walk into the gym. So yeah, if you need anything, email me. Otherwise, enjoy.